I watched in stunned silence as my boss, Nathan Parker, presented my customer engagement platform to the entire executive team. My breath caught in my throat as he clicked through the exact same slides I had shown him just last week, the same slides he had dismissed as lacking vision and not innovative enough. Yet here he was, confidently explaining my ideas as if they were his own brilliant creation, not even bothering to change the color scheme I had meticulously designed. The worst part? He was receiving enthusiastic nods from the leadership team, including our CEO, Sophia Rodriguez, who rarely attended these quarterly strategy meetings. This revolutionary approach to customer engagement will put Meridian Technologies miles ahead of our competitors, Nathan declared, his voice brimming, with unearned pride as he gestured toward the projection screen. I've been developing this concept for months. My name is Emma Chen, and at 28, I never expected to be watching my boss steal the proposal that had consumed my nights and weekends for the past 3 months. As a senior product strategist at Meridian Technologies in Denver, I had poured my heart and soul into this platform, even sacrificing a weekend trip to Aspen with my friends to perfect the presentation I had given Nathan just 7 days ago. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. 3 months earlier, I had been sitting in our weekly strategy meeting when Sophia had dropped a bombshell. Our customer retention numbers are in free fall, she announced, her usually composed expression betraying genuine concern. We need innovative solutions, and we need them fast. The board is breathing down my neck. The room had fallen silent. Meridian Technologies had been a rising star in the Denver tech scene, but our recent acquisition of a smaller competitor had led to integration issues and customer dissatisfaction. As the newest member of the strategy team, I had kept my head down, focusing on delivering solid work rather than making waves. We'll need a comprehensive proposal by the end of the quarter, Nathan had added, his eyes scanning the room but deliberately skipping over me. Something revolutionary. Something that shows we understand what modern customers really want. After the meeting, I had lingered, waiting until most of my colleagues had filed out before approaching Nathan. I have some ideas about the customer engagement problem, I said, trying to project confidence despite the butterflies in my stomach. I've been tracking some emerging trends that might help us address the retention issue. Nathan had barely looked up from his phone. Everyone has ideas, Emma, he replied dismissively. What we need are solutions. I think I have those too, I persisted. I've been analyzing our customer feedback and cross-referencing it with, email me a brief outline, he interrupted, finally glancing up. If it's worth pursuing, we can discuss it further. That night, I had stayed up until 2 a.m. drafting. Not just an outline, but a detailed analysis of our customer pain points and a framework for addressing them. My concept centered around a personalized engagement platform that would integrate with our existing products while offering customers unprecedented control over their experience. It wasn't just innovative, it was implementable with our current resources. Nathan's response the next day had been a single line. Interesting. Keep developing this on your own time. For the next 12 weeks, that's exactly what I did. While my colleagues went home at reasonable hours or met for happy hours at the trendy brew pubs near our office, I remained hunched over my computer, refining my proposal, building wireframes, creating user journey maps, and even developing a basic prototype. My apartment had transformed into a war room, with sticky notes covering my walls and whiteboard markers permanently staining my fingers. My friend and colleague Tyler Washington had noticed my exhaustion. Emma, you're burning yourself out, he warned one afternoon after finding me napping in the small meditation room. Whatever you're working on, it's not worth your health. It will be worth it when Nathan sees the finished product, I had assured him. This could be what gets me onto the leadership track. Nathan? Tyler had scoffed, rolling his eyes. The guy who took credit for Harper's market analysis last quarter? Good luck with that. I had brushed off his concern. This is different. The proposal is too comprehensive, too detailed. He couldn't possibly claim it as his own. When I had finally requested a meeting with Nathan to present my completed proposal, he had seemed annoyed at the interruption to his schedule. Fine, Thursday, 4 p.m., but keep it under 30 minutes. I have a dinner reservation. That Thursday, I had arrived at the glass-walled conference room 15 minutes early, setting up my presentation and rehearsing my key points one final time. Nathan had arrived 10 minutes late, already wearing his coat and checking his watch. "Let's make this quick," he said, taking a seat as far from the screen as possible. For the next 25 minutes, I had presented what I genuinely believed was the best work of my career. The customer engagement platform addressed every pain point Sophia had identified, offered scalable solutions that could be implemented in phases, and included testimonials from 3 loyal customers I had interviewed who had expressed enthusiasm for the concept. As I spoke, Nathan had remained stone-faced, occasionally checking his phone or stifling a yawn. When I concluded and asked for his thoughts, he had stood up, buttoning his coat. "It's derivative," he declared flatly. "Nothing we haven't seen, in the market already. And the implementation timeline is unrealistic. We need something innovative, Emma, not a rehash of existing platforms." My heart had sunk. "But the integration with our existing—" "I appreciate the effort," he cut me off, already moving toward the door. "But this isn't what we're looking for. I'll keep thinking about more creative approaches. Maybe you should focus on your assigned projects for now." I had remained in the conference room long after he left, gathering my materials with shaking hands, fighting back tears of frustration. 3 months of work, dismissed in less than a minute. That evening, I had called my mentor, Dr. Eleanor Foster, who had been my professor at the University of Colorado and had helped me land my position at Meridian. After listening to my story, she had sighed heavily. "Emma, I've seen this happen. Too many times. You need to protect your work." "How?" "I've already presented it to him." "Did you record the meeting? Send follow-up emails? Create any documentation that proves you presented this to him?" I had fallen silent, mentally retracing my steps. "I recorded the audio on my phone," I admitted, "but only for my own reference, to remember his feedback. And I sent him the full slide deck and executive summary afterward. The email thread would show the time and date." "Keep all of that," Eleanor had advised firmly. "And from now on, document everything. You never know when you might need it." I had taken her advice as a general precaution, never truly believing I would need to use it. That was until today, exactly 1 week later, as I sat in our largest conference room watching Nathan present my work to the entire executive team, including Sophia Rodriguez herself. "The platform integrates seamlessly with our existing product suite," Nathan was saying, using my exact words from the previous week. "But the real innovation is in the predictive analytics engine that anticipates customer needs before they even articulate them." I glanced around the table, wondering if anyone else noticed this act of blatant plagiarism. Tyler, sitting across from me, was alternating between staring at Nathan and shooting concerned glances my way. Harper Davis, our data analyst, was frowning slightly, perhaps recognizing elements from conversations we had shared during my research phase. But most of the executives were nodding appreciatively, clearly impressed by Nathan's vision. Sophia was taking notes, something I had never seen her do in regular meetings. "What about implementation timeline?" asked Marcus, our CTO, leaning forward with interest. "This looks comprehensive." Nathan smiled confidently. "I've broken it down into 3 phases, he replied, clicking to the next slide. My slide, with my 3-phase implementation plan. "We could have the first phase live within 8 weeks. 8 weeks. The exact timeline I had mapped out after countless hours of consulting with our development team. My hands trembled underneath the conference table. I had 2 choices: remain silent and watch my work become Nathan's achievement, or speak up and potentially jeopardize my position at the company. Neither option seemed palatable. As Nathan continued his presentation, I slipped my phone from my pocket and, keeping it beneath the table, opened my recording app and found the file from our meeting the previous week. I sent it to both Tyler and Harper with a quick text. "Listen, to this after the meeting. It's important." "Any questions about the proposal?" Nathan asked as he concluded, looking around the room with the satisfaction of someone who expects only praise. Sophia nodded appreciatively. "This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need, Nathan. I'm impressed with the thoroughness of the analysis and the creativity of the solution." "Thank you," he replied, practically preening. "As I said, I've been working on this concept for quite some time. I couldn't take it anymore." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. 3 months of my life, countless hours of research and development, all being credited to someone who had rejected the very same work a week ago. Before I could reconsider, my hand was in the air. Nathan's smile faltered slightly. "Yes, Emma." "I have a question about the proposal," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "The predictive analytics engine you described. Could you elaborate on how you developed that concept? It seems quite familiar." A flash of panic crossed Nathan's face before he composed himself. "It's based on several market analyses and my own research into customer behavior patterns," he said dismissively. "But we don't need to get into the technical details now. I can schedule a team deep dive later." "Actually," Sophia interjected, "I'd be interested in hearing more about the development process. This is quite a departure from our usual approach." Nathan shifted uncomfortably. "It's been an evolving project, many influences, many iterations." "When exactly did you start working on this?" I asked, emboldened by Sophia's interest. The room had grown uncomfortably quiet. Nathan's face darkened as he realized what was happening. "Emma, we can discuss the team contributions after the executive meeting. This isn't the appropriate forum." "I believe it is," I countered, my heart pounding. "Especially since this is the exact same proposal I presented to you last Thursday, the one you called derivative and not innovative enough." The silence in the room deepened. Sophia's eyebrows rose as she looked between Nathan and me. "Is that accurate, Nathan?" "Absolutely not," he scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. "Emma was working on a tangentially related project, but nothing of this scope or vision. This is entirely my concept." It was the moment of truth. With trembling fingers, I reached for my phone. "I recorded our meeting last week for my own notes," I said, looking directly at Sophia rather than Nathan. "I'm happy to play it for everyone, so there's no confusion about whose concept this is." Nathan's face drained of color. "That's completely inappropriate. Recording meetings without consent." "Colorado is a one-party consent state," I interrupted, surprising even myself with my knowledge of recording laws. A factoid I'd picked up from a legal podcast I listened to during my commute. "And Meridian's employee handbook actually encourages recording meetings for note-taking purposes. Page 42, if you'd like to check." Sophia leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "I think we should hear this recording, Emma. Please proceed." With a deep breath, I pressed play and turned up the volume. Nathan's voice filled the conference room, crystal clear and undeniable. "It's derivative. Nothing we haven't seen in the market already. And the implementation timeline is unrealistic. We need something innovative, Emma, not a rehash of existing platforms." Then my own voice, explaining the integration features, the exact same features Nathan had just presented as revolutionary. As the recording continued, I watched the expressions around the table transform. Harper's eyes widened. Tyler shook, his head in disgust. Marcus, the CTO, crossed his arms and leaned back, his face hardening. But it was Sophia's reaction that truly mattered. As she listened, her professional mask slipped, revealing first surprise, then disappointment, and finally, something that looked remarkably like anger. I stopped the recording after about 2 minutes. The evidence was clear. "Would anyone like to hear more?" I asked quietly. "I have the entire presentation recorded." "That won't be necessary," Sophia said, her voice tight with controlled emotion. Her gaze shifted to Nathan, who was now staring fixedly at the table. "Nathan, I'd like to speak with you in my office immediately after this meeting concludes." Nathan nodded stiffly, not meeting anyone's eyes. "And Emma," Sophia continued, "please send me your complete proposal and any supporting materials. I'd like to review them personally this afternoon." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, already forwarding her the email thread that contained all my work. "Now," Sophia said, standing up and effectively ending the meeting, "I believe we all have plenty to think about. Let's reconvene tomorrow morning to discuss next steps for this platform, which, despite its complicated introduction, does appear to have significant merit." As everyone gathered their materials and began to file out, Nathan remained seated, apparently unable to move. I collected my laptop and notes, feeling neither triumph nor satisfaction, only a strange hollowness mixed with relief. Tyler caught up with me in the hallway. "That was the most intense meeting I've ever witnessed," he said quietly. "Are you okay?" "I think so," I replied, though I wasn't entirely sure. Standing up to Nathan had been necessary, but I had no idea what the repercussions would be. Had I just torpedoed my career at Meridian? Would I be labeled a troublemaker? "That took serious courage," Harper added, joining us. "Nathan has been pulling stunts like this for years, but no one's ever called him out so publicly." "Do you think I went too far?" I asked, suddenly anxious. "Not at all," Tyler assured me. "Did you see Sophia's face when she heard that recording? I've never seen her that angry, and I've been here through 2 failed product launches." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Sophia's executive assistant. "Ms. Rodriguez would like to see you in her office at 4 p.m. today. Please confirm your availability." I showed the message to Tyler and Harper, my stomach churning with anxiety. "That's a good sign," Harper insisted. "If she were upset with you, she wouldn't wait until 4 p.m. Or maybe she wants to fire me when there are fewer people in the office," I countered, unable to keep the worry from my voice. "That's not Sophia's style," Tyler said firmly. "Besides, she asked for your full proposal. She wouldn't do that if she didn't take your work seriously." I nodded, trying to convince myself they were right. I guess I'll find out at 4. The next few hours were the longest of my professional life. I attempted to focus on other work, but my mind kept replaying the meeting, wondering if I could have handled it differently. By 3:30, I had reorganized my desk 3 times and consumed enough coffee to power a small city. At precisely 3:58, I stood outside Sophia's corner office, smoothing my blazer and taking deep breaths. Through the glass walls, I could see her typing intently at her computer, her posture as perfect as always. At exactly 4 p.m., she looked up and waved me in. "Emma, thank you for coming," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "Please, sit down." I perched on the edge of the seat, hands clasped tightly in my lap to prevent them from shaking. "I've spent the afternoon reviewing your complete proposal," Sophia began, tapping a tablet where my presentation was displayed, "and speaking with several people, including Nathan." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "First, I want to apologize to you on behalf of Meridian Technologies," she continued, surprising me. "What happened today represents a significant failure of leadership and a violation of our core values as a company." "Thank you," I managed, still uncertain where this was heading. "Nathan will no longer be leading the strategy team," Sophia stated matter-of-factly. "Effective immediately." My eyes widened. I didn't intend to cause... Sophia held up a hand. This isn't solely because of today's incident, though that was certainly the catalyst. We've had concerns about Nathan's management style and integrity for some time, but lacked concrete evidence until now. She leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. Emma, your proposal is genuinely impressive. The executive team is unanimously in favor of moving forward with it. The question now is, who should lead this initiative? I blinked, wondering if I had misheard. You want me to lead it? You created it, Sophia said simply. You understand it better than anyone. The question is whether you're prepared to step into a project leadership role. It would be a significant responsibility and visibility. Increase. My mind raced. This was an opportunity beyond anything I had anticipated, the kind of advancement that typically took years to achieve. I am absolutely prepared, I replied, my voice growing stronger with each word. I believe in this platform, and I know I can guide it to successful implementation. Sophia studied me thoughtfully. Your handling of today's situation showed not just creativity, but courage and integrity, qualities we value highly in our leaders. This won't be easy. You'll face skepticism, resistance, and tremendous pressure to deliver. I understand, I said, but I'm ready for the challenge. Good, Sophia nodded, the hint of a smile appearing. Because I've already instructed HR to prepare the paperwork for your promotion to senior product manager, effective next week. The role comes with a team of 5 and a considerable raise. For a moment, I couldn't speak. This morning, I had been a mid-level strategist watching my work being stolen. Now, I was being handed the reins to my own project and a leadership position. Thank you for this opportunity, I finally said. I won't let you down. I don't believe you will, Sophia replied. Now, I suggest you go home and get some rest. Tomorrow will be your first day presenting the platform as its official leader, and I suspect you'll want to be at your best. As I left Sophia's office, I felt as though I were floating. The day that had begun with theft and betrayal had transformed into something I couldn't have imagined. In the elevator down to the lobby, I pulled out my phone and called Eleanor. How did it go? She asked immediately, having been updated through my frantic texts throughout the day. I got a promotion, I said, still hardly believing it myself. And the project is moving forward, with me leading it. I knew you had. It in you, Eleanor replied, the pride evident in her voice. Not everyone would have had the courage to stand up in that meeting. I'm still processing it all, I admitted. This morning I thought my career might be over. Now you've proven not just that you have great ideas, but that you have the backbone to protect them, Eleanor finished for me. That's the kind of leadership Meridian, and the industry, needs. As I stepped out of the building into the crisp Denver afternoon, I realized something profound had shifted inside me. The victory wasn't just about getting credit for my work, or even the unexpected promotion. It was about finding my voice and using it, even when it terrified me to do so. My phone buzzed with messages from Tyler and Harper, asking for updates. I smiled, texting back, "Meeting went well. Very well. Drinks tonight? I'm buying." Then I looked up at the Meridian Technologies building, its glass exterior gleaming in the late afternoon sun. For the first time since joining the company, I felt like I truly belonged there. Not as someone who kept her head down and hoped to be noticed, but as someone who had earned her place through creativity, hard work, and the courage to stand up for herself when it mattered most. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but today, walking toward the light rail station with my head held high, I allowed myself to simply savor the moment when everything changed. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual, the memory of yesterday's confrontation still electric in my mind. The Meridian Technologies building was quiet at 7:15 a.m., with only the cleaning staff and a few ambitious developers populating the sleek, modern space. I preferred it this way. The calm before the corporate storm allowed me to gather my thoughts and prepare for what would undoubtedly be a day of whispers and sideways glances. As I settled at my desk, arranging my new project materials with meticulous care, I noticed an email from Sophia that had arrived at 6:43 a.m. Either she never slept, or this matter had kept her up as much as it had me. The message was concise. Emma, please prepare to present your platform proposal to the executive team again at 10 a.m. This time as its rightful creator. Conference room A has been booked. Sophia. My stomach tightened. It was one thing to stand up for myself in the heat of the moment, but quite another to present to the executive team as a newly promoted senior product manager. I had less than 3 hours to prepare. I pulled up my original presentation files, grateful that I had obsessively organized every aspect of the project. As I reviewed the slides, I realized I needed to make this presentation distinctly mine, not just a repetition of what Nathan had delivered yesterday. This was my opportunity to establish my voice as a leader. At 8:30, Tyler arrived, making a beeline for my desk with 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Thought you might need reinforcements," he said, placing one in front of me. "Word is spreading fast about what happened yesterday." "Thanks," I replied, gratefully accepting the caffeine. "What exactly are people saying?" Tyler leaned against my desk. "That you recorded Nathan stealing your work and played it for the entire executive team. That Sophia was so furious she practically dragged him to her office by his designer tie. That you're being promoted." He raised an eyebrow. "Is that last part true?" I nodded, still not entirely believing it myself. "Senior product manager, starting next week, with a team of 5. Tyler whistled low. "That's massive, Emma. Congratulations." He paused, studying my expression. "You don't seem as thrilled as I'd expect." "I'm presenting to the executive team in less than 2 hours," I explained, gesturing to my computer screen. "I need to make this count. It's not enough to just show them the same presentation Nathan gave." "You're right," Tyler agreed, suddenly serious. "This isn't just about the platform anymore. It's about establishing yourself as a leader." He glanced at my screen. "Want some help? I've got an hour before my first meeting." For the next 45 minutes, Tyler and I reworked key elements of my presentation. We added implementation details I hadn't included before, enhanced the customer testimonials with more specific quotes, and created a slide outlining the team structure I envisioned for the project. By 9:30, I had a presentation that was simultaneously familiar to what the executives had seen yesterday, but undeniably improved. As we finished, Harper appeared at my desk, slightly out of breath. "I just heard about the meeting," she said. "I thought you might want these." She handed me a folder containing printed analytics reports that supported my platform's projected impact on customer retention. "These are perfect," I said, genuinely touched by her thoughtfulness. "How did you know I'd need them?" Harper smiled. "Because it's what I'd want if I were in your position. Concrete data to back up every claim. Also," she lowered her voice, "I passed Nathan in the parking lot. He didn't look happy." "Is he coming to the meeting?" I asked, my confidence wavering slightly. "I don't think so," Harper replied. "Rumor has it he's been temporarily reassigned to the Denver Heights satellite office while HR conducts a review. That explained why his office door had remained closed all morning. Part of me felt guilty about Nathan's situation, despite everything he'd done. Another part, a stronger part, reminded me that he had brought this on himself. At 9:50, I gathered my materials and headed toward conference room A, Tyler and Harper offering encouraging words as I left. The hallway seemed longer than usual, each step carrying me further into a new professional identity I wasn't entirely sure I was ready for. Outside the conference room, I paused to straighten my blazer and take a steadying breath. Through the glass walls, I could see the executive team already gathering, Sophia at the head of the table. Marcus chatting with the CFO and several other directors I recognized but had rarely spoken with directly. No sign of Nathan, confirming Harper's information. Just as I was about to enter, my phone buzzed with a text from Eleanor. "Remember? You earned this moment. Speak with confidence. I believe in you." With those words bolstering my resolve, I pushed open the door and walked in, head high and shoulders back. Sophia looked up immediately. "Emma, right on time. Please, set up while we finish gathering." As I connected my laptop to the presentation system, I noticed several executives watching me with undisguised curiosity. Had they all heard about yesterday's confrontation? Probably. Meridian might be a technology company, but office gossip still traveled at the speed of light. By 10:05, the room was full, and Sophia called the meeting to order. "Thank you all for accommodating this additional session on short notice," she began, her voice commanding instant attention. "As you know, yesterday we were presented with a customer engagement platform proposal. Today, Emma Chen, the actual creator of that proposal, will walk us through the project in more detail. Emma has been promoted to Senior Product Manager and will be leading this initiative moving forward." All eyes turned to me, expressions ranging from skeptical to intrigued. This was the moment, the pivot point in my career that would define how these leaders viewed me going forward. I couldn't afford to show even a hint of uncertainty. "Thank you, Sophia," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Yesterday, you saw the framework of a new approach to customer engagement. Today, I want to take you deeper into how this platform was conceived, why it solves our current retention challenges, and exactly how we'll implement it." For the next 40 minutes, I presented not just a proposal, but a vision, one shaped by countless hours of research, customer interviews, and technical exploration. I highlighted how the platform addressed specific pain points Meridian had struggled with for years, demonstrated the prototype I had built, and outlined the phased implementation approach that would minimize disruption while maximizing impact. As I spoke, I watched the executives' expressions transform from polite attention to genuine engagement. Marcus asked detailed technical questions about integration with our existing systems. The CFO wanted to know more about the ROI projections. The VP of Customer Success inquired about how the platform would affect her team's workflows. I answered each question confidently, drawing on my deep knowledge of the project. Knowledge Nathan could never have possessed after merely skimming my presentation once. When I didn't know an answer, I admitted it plainly, but promised to follow up quickly. This wasn't about pretending to be perfect. It was about demonstrating competence and ownership. When I concluded, Sophia opened the floor for final questions. The head of business development, a serious woman named Janelle who rarely spoke in general meetings, leaned forward. "I'm curious, Emma," she said, her tone neutral but her gaze intense. "Given the unusual circumstances surrounding this project, how do you plan to establish your leadership credibility with your new team?" The question hung in the air, addressing the elephant in the room. Everyone knew I had been catapulted into leadership through an unconventional situation. Everyone was wondering the same thing. Could I handle it? I took a moment before responding, considering my words carefully. Leadership credibility comes from three things: expertise, transparency, and results. I've demonstrated my expertise through the development of this platform. As for transparency, I believe yesterday showed that I value truth and integrity, even when it's uncomfortable. And regarding results, I paused, making eye contact with each executive. I intend to deliver this platform on time, under budget, and with measurable impact on our retention metrics. My team will know exactly what we're working toward and why it matters, and I'll ensure they receive appropriate recognition for their contributions. Janelle held my gaze for a moment longer, then nodded, seemingly satisfied. I look forward to seeing that happen. Sophia stood, signaling the end of the meeting. "Thank you, Emma. I believe we're all aligned on moving forward with this initiative. Please send your implementation timeline and resource requirements to the leadership team by end of day tomorrow. Everyone else, I trust you'll provide Emma with any support she needs to make this successful. As the executives filed out, several stopped to congratulate me or ask follow-up questions about specific aspects of the platform. Marcus, the CTO, lingered until we were the only ones left in the room. "That was impressive," he said, helping me disconnect my laptop, especially on such short notice. "Thank you," I replied, relief beginning to replace the adrenaline that had carried me through the presentation. "You know," Marcus continued, "I worked with your boss at his previous company. This isn't the first time he's taken credit for someone else's work." He paused, seeming to weigh his next words carefully. "But it is the first time I've seen someone call him out on it so effectively. That recording was providential." I stopped gathering my materials, suddenly remembering the strange sequence of events that had led to me having that recording in the first place. To be honest, I only recorded the meeting for my own notes. I never expected to need it this way. Marcus smiled. "Sometimes the best preparation is the kind you don't realize you're making. That's true in technology and in careers." He headed for the door but turned back. "Your team assignments will be finalized tomorrow. Is there anyone specific you'd like to request?" Without hesitation, I replied, "Tyler Washington and Harper Davis, if possible. They're familiar with the project and I trust their skills." "I'll see what I can do," Marcus promised before leaving. Alone in the conference room, I finally allowed myself a moment to process what had just occurred. My hands trembled slightly. As I packed up my presentation materials, the cumulative stress of the past 24 hours catching up with me. I had just presented to the entire executive team. I had defended my work. I had taken the first real step into leadership. My phone buzzed with a calendar invitation from Sophia for a one-on-one meeting that afternoon. The subject line read simply, "Transition planning?" This was really happening. As I left the conference room, I noticed people watching me. Some openly, others trying to be discreet. Word had clearly spread throughout the office. I walked with deliberate confidence back to my desk, where Tyler and Harper were waiting expectantly. "Well?" Tyler asked, barely containing his curiosity. "It went well," I said, unable to suppress a smile. "Really well, actually. And I may have requested both of you for my team." Harper's eyes widened. "Seriously? You want me on your team?" "Your data analytics skills are exactly what this project needs," I assured her. "Plus, you both already understand the vision. I need people I can trust." As we discussed the presentation, my phone buzzed again, this time with a message from an unfamiliar number. "Ms. Chen, this is Patricia from HR. Please stop by my office at your earliest convenience to discuss your promotion paperwork and team structure." The reality of my new position was materializing faster than I had anticipated. Within hours, I would no longer be Senior Product Strategist Emma Chen, but Senior Product Manager Emma Chen, with all the responsibilities that entailed. "I need to go to HR," I told Tyler and Harper. "Apparently, there's paperwork for my promotion." "Go!" Tyler urged. "We'll hold down the fort." As I walked toward the HR department, I passed Nathan's empty office. Through the glass wall, I could see that his personal items were gone. His golf trophies, framed certificates, and the expensive fountain pen set he often bragged about. The space looked strangely impersonal without them, as if erasing his presence had revealed how little substance there had been beneath the carefully crafted image. Patricia, a stern but fair woman I'd interacted with during my onboarding, greeted me with unexpected warmth. "Emma, congratulations on your promotion. Please, have a seat." For the next hour, we reviewed paperwork detailing my new salary, a 30% increase that made me momentarily dizzy, benefits adjustments, stock options, and leadership responsibilities. Patricia explained the company's expectations for managers, outlined the performance review process for my future team members, and scheduled me for the next session of Meridian's leadership development program. "This is a significant advancement," Patricia noted as we finished the paperwork. "Typically, employees don't move into senior management roles until they've been with the company for at least 3 years. You've accomplished it in 14 months. "It wasn't exactly the traditional path," I acknowledged, still uncomfortable with how my promotion had materialized. Patricia's expression turned serious. "I want to address that directly, Emma. What happened with Nathan was unacceptable. We're conducting a thorough review of his management history and have already found concerning patterns. Your promotion isn't just because of yesterday's incident. It's because your work demonstrates exceptional talent and vision. The situation simply brought that to light sooner than it might have otherwise." Her words eased some of my imposter syndrome. I hadn't asked for this advancement, but perhaps I had earned it nonetheless. "Your team assignments have been preliminarily approved," Patricia continued, sliding a folder across the desk. "Tyler Washington and Harper Davis, as you requested, plus 3 developers from the Aspen project that recently concluded. Their profiles are in here for your review." I opened the folder to find detailed information on all 5 team members. The developers, Aiden, Layla, and Raj, had impressive backgrounds with specific expertise in different aspects of customer interface design, security protocols, and systems integration. They were exactly the technical skills the platform would require. "This team," I began scanning their profiles. "It's perfect." "Marcus helped select them based on your platform requirements," Patricia explained. "You'll meet with them tomorrow morning to begin the transition." As I left HR, folder clutched tightly in my hands, the reality of my new responsibilities began to sink in. 5 people would soon be looking to me for leadership, guidance, and career development. The platform implementation would affect every customer Meridian serviced. The executives would be watching closely to see if their faith in me was justified. For a moment, standing alone in the hallway, the weight of it all felt overwhelming. Then I remembered Eleanor's words from our conversation the previous evening. Not everyone would have had the courage to stand up in that meeting. If I had the courage to confront Nathan in front of the executive team, I certainly had the courage to lead this project to success. Back at my desk, I found an email from Facilities Management informing me that I would be relocated to a manager's office the following day. Attached was a seating chart showing my new team's configuration, centered around a collaboration space with private workstations branching off for focused work. Someone had been planning this carefully. I spent the rest of the morning communicating with team members scheduled for other projects, coordinating their transitions with minimal disruption. By lunchtime, my head was spinning with logistics, but a clear plan was forming. I would need to schedule individual meetings with each team member, develop a detailed project timeline, establish communication protocols, and create accountability metrics, all while ensuring the team felt cohesive and supported. As noon approached, Tyler appeared at my desk. "A bunch of us are heading to Riverfront Bistro to celebrate your promotion. You're coming, right?" I hesitated, glancing at my crowded calendar. "I'm not sure I have time. There's so much to organize." "Emma," Tyler said firmly, "you need to eat lunch regardless. And this moment, your first promotion to management, is worth marking. Come celebrate with your colleagues before they become your direct reports and everything gets complicated." He had a point. Once I officially stepped into my management role, the dynamics with my peers would inevitably shift. This might be the last chance for a purely collegial celebration. "All right," I conceded, grabbing my coat. "But just for an hour." Riverfront Bistro was a popular lunch spot for Meridian employees, with its scenic patio overlooking the South Platte River. As Tyler and I arrived, I was surprised to see not just Harper, but nearly a dozen colleagues from various departments. gathered around a large table. Someone had brought balloons. "There she is!" Harper called out, raising her glass of iced tea. The woman who stood up to Nathan Parker and lived to tell the tale. As I took my seat, slightly embarrassed by the attention, I realized that this gathering represented more than just celebration of my promotion. For many of my colleagues, Nathan had been a difficult and sometimes demoralizing manager. My confrontation with him had resonated beyond my personal situation. "I heard he's been temporarily reassigned to the satellite office," said Layla, one of the developers who would soon be on my team. "Is it true that HR is reviewing all his past performance evaluations?" "I'm not privy to the details," I replied diplomatically, conscious that as a soon-to-be manager, my words carried new weight. "I'm focused on moving the customer engagement platform forward." "Smart answer," Raj approved with a grin, already thinking like management. The lunch was lively, with congratulations interspersed with questions about the platform and good-natured teasing about my new authority. Yet beneath the camaraderie, I sensed genuine curiosity about what kind of leader I would be. These people had worked under Nathan's questionable management. They were understandably cautious about who would replace him. As we finished eating, Aiden, the senior developer assigned to my team, asked the question I suspected many were thinking. "So, Emma, what's your management philosophy? How do you plan to run the team?" The table quieted, all eyes turning to me. It was a fair question, but one I hadn't explicitly formulated an answer for. Instead of giving a rehearsed response, I decided to speak from experience. "I believe in recognition," I began slowly. "Ensuring that people get credit for their contributions. I believe in transparency about goals and challenges. And I believe that the best work happens when people understand not just what they're building, but why it matters." I paused, considering what had been missing from my own experience under Nathan's leadership. Most importantly, I believe a good manager serves their team, not the other way around. My job will be to clear obstacles, provide resources, and make sure each of you can do your best work. Aiden nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds like you've given this some thought." "Honestly," I admitted, "I've spent more time thinking about what kind of manager I don't want to be. The rest I'll figure out as we go, with your help." This earned appreciative laughs and a round of toasts to figuring it out together. As lunch concluded and we walked back to the office, several people offered specific advice about the transition to management, warnings about common pitfalls, suggestions for establishing authority without being authoritarian, and recommendations for leadership books that had helped them. I was struck by the generosity of these insights. My colleagues wanted me to succeed, not just for my sake, but for theirs. A good manager improved everyone's work life. They had experienced the opposite and were invested in a better future. Back at the office, I found an email from Sophia confirming our meeting at 3 p.m. I spent the intervening hours drafting a communication plan for the official announcement of both my promotion and the platform initiative. The messaging needed to be clear but not triumphant, acknowledging the unusual circumstances without dwelling on them. At precisely 3 p.m., I knocked on Sophia's office door. She waved me in without looking up from her computer, finishing something, before giving me her full attention. "Emma," she said, gesturing to the chair opposite her desk. "How are you holding up? It's been quite the 24 hours. "It's been intense," I acknowledged, but also clarifying. "I know exactly what needs to be done next." Sophia smiled approvingly. "That's what I wanted to hear. Tell me your immediate priorities." For the next 15 minutes, I outlined my approach to the transition. Meeting individually with each team member, establishing project milestones with clear accountability, creating a communication structure for both the team and stakeholders, and developing a risk management protocol. Sophia listened attentively, occasionally asking pointed questions about specific aspects of my plan. When I finished, she nodded with satisfaction. "You're thinking like a manager already," she observed. But there's an aspect of this transition we need to address directly: the circumstances of your promotion. I shifted uncomfortably. I'm aware that it's unconventional. Unconventional is putting it mildly, Sophia replied. You're stepping into a role previously held by someone who betrayed your trust in a very public way. Some people will question whether you're ready. Others will wonder if the only reason you're in this position is because you happened to record that meeting. Her bluntness was startling but oddly refreshing. What do you suggest? I asked. Own the narrative, Sophia said firmly. Yes, the recording exposed Nathan's behavior, but what impressed the executive team wasn't the recording itself. It was your composure under pressure, your deep knowledge of the platform, and your willingness to stand up for your work. Those are leadership qualities. She leaned forward, her expression intensifying. Emma, we're not promoting you because Nathan behaved badly. We're promoting you because when faced with adversity, you demonstrated exactly the kind of integrity and courage we want in our leadership team. Her words resonated deeply, offering a perspective I hadn't fully considered. Perhaps the recording hadn't just exposed Nathan's theft, it had revealed capabilities in me that might otherwise have remained hidden. I appreciate that framing, I said carefully. It helps me see this situation differently. Good, Sophia replied. Because starting tomorrow, you need to project absolute confidence in your right to be in this role. Doubts about your readiness should be in your private journal, not visible to your team. She was right, of course. Leadership required a certain performance of confidence, especially in the beginning. I couldn't afford to undermine my authority with visible insecurity. Now, Sophia continued, let's discuss the official communication plan. HR will announce your promotion tomorrow morning. I've asked marketing to prepare an internal feature on the customer engagement platform for next week's company newsletter. And I've scheduled you to present a project overview at the all-hands meeting on Friday. The all-hands meeting, every employee at Meridian, in person or remote, would be watching. It was both an incredible opportunity and a daunting challenge. That's very visible, I commented, trying to keep my voice neutral. Sophia's expression softened slightly. This platform could transform our customer relationships, Emma. It deserves visibility, and so do you. As our meeting concluded, Sophia handed me a small box. This was going to be part of the formal announcement tomorrow, but I thought you might appreciate having it now. Inside was a business card holder made of polished walnut, with my name and new title engraved on a silver plate. Emma Chen, Senior Product Manager. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched by the gesture. You earned this, Sophia replied simply. Now prove it wasn't a mistake. As I left her office, those words echoed in my mind. Prove it wasn't a mistake. Not a threat, but a challenge. One I was determined to meet. The remainder of the afternoon passed in a flurry of preparations. I coordinated with HR about the team announcement, scheduled individual meetings with each team member for the following day, and began drafting my presentation for Friday's all-hands meeting. By the time 6 p.m. arrived, I had laid the groundwork for a smooth transition but was mentally exhausted. Just as I was preparing to leave, my phone rang, Eleanor calling for an update. How did the executive presentation go? She asked immediately. Better than I expected, I replied, gathering my things. The platform was approved, my team has been assigned, and I'm presenting at the all-hands meeting on Friday. That's wonderful, Eleanor exclaimed. And how are you feeling about all of it? I paused, considering the question honestly. Overwhelmed. Excited, terrified, grateful, all of the above? Eleanor laughed softly. That sounds about right for a first management position. It gets easier, but that mix of emotions never fully goes away. At least not if you're doing it right. As I walked to the light rail station, Eleanor offered practical advice about my first week as a manager, drawing on her decades of experience in the tech industry. Her guidance was grounding, reminding me that while my situation was unusual, the fundamental challenges of leadership were universal. The most important thing, she emphasized as we concluded our call, is to be authentic. You can learn strategies and techniques, but people respond to genuine leadership. Be the kind of manager you always wished you had. The train was crowded with commuters heading home, many engrossed in their phones or lost in thought after long work days. I found a seat by the window and watched the Denver skyline slide past, golden in the early evening light. Just 48 hours ago, I had been a frustrated product strategist watching months of work dismissed by a dismissive boss. Now I was preparing to lead a high-visibility project with my own team. The train passed the Denver Heights district, where Nathan had been temporarily reassigned. I wondered briefly how he was handling the dramatic shift in his circumstances, then realized I genuinely didn't care. His choices had created this situation, and my energy was better spent focusing on the opportunities ahead. My phone buzzed with a message from Tyler. "Team celebration dinner tomorrow night? My treat." I smiled, typing back, "Absolutely. But, as the one with the big promotion, I should be treating." "We'll argue about it tomorrow," he replied. "Get some rest, boss." Boss. The word felt strange, almost like it referred to someone else. Yet as the train continued its journey toward my apartment, I realized that by this time tomorrow, that's exactly what I would be. Someone's boss. 5 someones to be precise. My phone buzzed again, this time with an email notification. The subject line made my heart skip. Customer engagement platform, team announcement. It was from HR, scheduled to be sent company-wide at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Attached was the official announcement of both my promotion and the platform initiative, complete with my new job title and reporting structure. Seeing it in official company format made everything feel suddenly, undeniably real. Tomorrow, everyone at Meridian would know about my advancement. Tomorrow, I would step into a leadership role I hadn't even been considering 3 days ago. Tomorrow, everything would change. As the train pulled into my station and I stepped onto the platform, I took a deep breath of the crisp evening air. The path forward wouldn't be easy. New responsibilities, higher expectations, the challenge of leading former peers. But I was ready to embrace it all. The unexpected recording that had exposed Nathan's deception had also revealed something important about me. I was capable of more than I had realized. Walking toward my apartment building, I thought about the various twists of fate that had led to this moment. If I hadn't recorded that meeting, if I hadn't spoken up in the executive session, if I hadn't prepared so thoroughly, any one of those factors could have resulted in a completely different outcome. But I had done those things, not because I was plotting an advancement strategy, but because they reflected who I was: thorough, prepared, and unwilling to let someone else take credit for my work. Perhaps that was Sophia's point. The promotion wasn't just about the recording or Nathan's downfall. It was about recognizing qualities that had been there all along. As I reached my building, I paused to look back at the city skyline, the Meridian Technologies building clearly visible among the downtown towers. Tomorrow, I would return not as Emma Chen, Senior Product Strategist, but as Emma Chen, Senior Product Manager. Not because of luck or circumstance, but because I had been prepared when opportunity arose. And that, I realized with growing confidence, made all the difference. My first official day as Senior Product Manager dawned with an unexpected mix of emotions. The initial shock and triumph had faded, replaced by a nagging sense of responsibility that settled heavily on my shoulders as I entered Meridian's gleaming lobby. The security guard, who had barely acknowledged me for the past 14 months, now nodded with newfound recognition. "Morning, Ms. Chen. Congratulations on the promotion." I smiled my thanks, wondering how he knew. The answer became clear as, I passed through the atrium where the digital company directory had already been updated to show my new title and office location. Overnight, I had become visible in ways I'd never anticipated. The elevator ride to the 14th floor was mercifully empty, giving me a few moments to gather my thoughts. Today wouldn't just be about meetings and presentations. Today was about establishing myself as a leader worth following, about proving to everyone, including myself, that I deserved this role. When the doors opened, I was greeted by the unmistakable buzz of anticipation that pervades an office when something significant has happened. Conversations quieted as I passed, followed by whispers once I was safely out of earshot. Rather than heading to my familiar desk in the open workspace, I followed the directions to my new office. Nathan's former space, I realized with a jolt. The facilities team had worked quickly. Gone were all traces of the previous occupant, replaced by a minimalist setup awaiting personalization. The glass-walled space offered a commanding view of both downtown Denver and the larger product team workspace. Even the furniture had been changed. Nathan's ostentatious executive chair replaced by a more practical ergonomic model. I had barely set down my bag when Tyler appeared in the doorway, 2 cups of coffee in hand, apparently our new morning ritual. "How's the view from the top?" he asked, handing me a steaming cup. "Surreal," I admitted, accepting the coffee gratefully. "I keep expecting someone to tell me there's been a mistake." Tyler leaned against the doorframe. "No mistake. HR sent the announcement 20 minutes ago. Your inbox is probably exploding." He was right. When I checked my email, the unread count had jumped to 47, mostly congratulatory messages from colleagues, but also several meeting requests from me, department heads, and a pointed note from Janelle in business development asking to discuss integration points for the customer platform ASAP. "Is it always like this?" I asked, scanning the flood of communication. "Welcome to management," Tyler replied with a sympathetic smile. "Everyone suddenly needs 5 minutes of your time, and those 5 minutes add up quickly." Before I could respond, Harper appeared, tablet in hand and expression all business. "Your team is assembled in conference room C. They were told to expect you at 9:30. I glanced at my watch, 9:18. "I didn't schedule a team meeting for this morning." "Sophia did," Harper explained. "The official kickoff for the platform project. She thought it would be good to start with everyone together before your individual meetings." My heartbeat quickened. I had planned to meet each team member one-on-one first, establishing personal connections before bringing the group together. This accelerated timeline felt like being pushed into the deep end to see if I could swim. "Right," I said, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. "Let me grab my materials." As I gathered my laptop and notes, Tyler watched with an expression that mingled concern and encouragement. "You've got this, Emma. Remember, they're probably more nervous than you are." That hadn't occurred to me. From my perspective, I was the untested variable in this equation. But from my new team's viewpoint, I was the person who had just orchestrated a dramatic upheaval in the management structure. No wonder Sophia wanted to get us all in a room together quickly. "Any advice?" I asked Tyler as we headed toward the forward conference room. "Be authentic," he said simply. "They already know you're competent. Now they need to know they can trust you." Conference Room C was Meridian's designated creativity space with writable walls, modular furniture, and a more casual atmosphere than the formal boardrooms. As I entered, 5 pairs of eyes turned to me, Tyler and Harper, who would now officially report to me, and 3 developers I knew by reputation but had rarely worked with directly. Aiden Wilson, the senior back-end architect, Layla Patel, our UX specialist, and Raj Mehta, a security and compliance expert. The arrangement was perfect, each person bringing specific expertise crucial to the platform's success. But as they watched me expectantly, I felt a momentary flash of panic. These were accomplished professionals, each with specialized knowledge, exceeding my own in their respective domains. Why should they follow my lead? Then I remembered what Sophia had said about owning the narrative. This team wasn't assembled because I knew more than them about coding or UX design. They were here because I had created a vision worth building and demonstrated the courage to defend it. "Good morning," I began, setting down my materials and remaining standing. "I want to start by thanking each of you for being here. You've been selected for this team because your specific skills and perspectives are essential to making the customer engagement platform a reality." I moved to the whiteboard wall and picked up a marker. Before we dive into timelines and assignments, I'd like to take a step back and make sure we're all aligned on the why of this project. For the next 15 minutes, I outlined the core problem the platform would solve, sharing the customer interviews and data that had informed my original concept. Rather than presenting a finished vision, I invited questions and perspectives, creating space for each team member to see themselves in the project. "Layla, your expertise in user experience will be crucial here," I noted, highlighting a particularly thorny challenge in the customer journey. "How would you approach this transition point?" As Layla offered her thoughts, I noticed the tension in the room beginning to dissipate. By asking genuine questions and acknowledging the expertise around the table, I was establishing myself not as a dictator, but as a coordinator of talent. When Aiden raised concerns about integration challenges with our legacy systems, I didn't pretend to have all the answers. "That's exactly why you're on this team," I acknowledged. "I need your experience to help us navigate those complexities. What do you think is the biggest risk factor there?" By the time we had mapped out the core components of the platform on the whiteboard walls, the dynamic had shifted noticeably. What had begun as a group of individuals cautiously assessing their new manager had evolved into a collaborative unit, already wrestling with the interesting problems ahead. "I didn't expect to get into the technical details so quickly," Raj commented as we concluded the initial discussion. "Usually these kickoff meetings are just about timelines and deliverables." "We'll get to those," I assured him. "But I wanted to start by making sure we're all seeing the same mountain we need to climb. Timelines mean nothing if we're not aligned on the destination." As if on cue, Sophia appeared in the doorway, coffee in hand. "How's the kickoff going?" 5 heads turned toward her, surprised by the CEO's appearance at a project-level meeting. This didn't happen at Meridian. Executives typically remained at arm's length from implementation details. "We're just establishing our shared understanding of the project goals," I explained, gesturing to the marker-covered walls. "Would you like to join us?" Sophia entered, studying the diagrams and notes with evident interest. "Impressive start. I'm just here to observe for a few minutes and to emphasize how important this initiative is to Meridian's future." She turned to address the team directly. "The customer engagement platform isn't just another product feature. It represents a fundamental shift in how we think about our relationship with users." Emma's vision captured that shift in a way that made the entire executive team sit up and take notice. Her words sent a clear message. This wasn't just my project anymore. It had become a company priority with visibility at the highest levels. The implicit challenge to deliver was unmistakable. "We won't let you down," I said, meeting her gaze steadily. Sophia nodded. "I know you won't." Her eyes scanned the room once more. "You've got an exceptional team here. Use them well." With that, she departed as suddenly as she had arrived. "No pressure," Aiden muttered under his breath, breaking the tension that had built during Sophia's visit. The team laughed, and I seized the opportunity to transition to the practical aspects of the project. "Let's talk about how we're going to work together. I have some ideas, but I want to hear your preferences first." For the next hour, we established our operating rhythm. Daily stand-ups, twice-weekly deep dive sessions, a dedicated Slack channel for ongoing communication, and a shared project board to track progress. Rather than imposing a structure, I guided the conversation toward consensus, making it clear that while I would be accountable for outcomes, The team would have significant input into our methods. One more thing before we wrap this kickoff, I said as we approached the scheduled end. Time. I want to be explicit about how we'll handle recognition on this project. The room quieted, everyone aware of the elephant in the room, the circumstances that had led to my promotion and the formation of this team. Every contribution will be acknowledged. Every good idea will be attributed to its source. We succeed, together, and we'll make sure everyone knows exactly who made it happen. I paused, making eye contact with each person. That's my commitment to you. I expect the same in return, that we build a culture of mutual recognition and respect. The nods around the table conveyed understanding. Without directly referencing Nathan's actions, I had addressed the underlying concern and established a clear expectation for how this team would operate differently. I think that's enough for our first morning together, I concluded. I've scheduled individual meetings with each of you throughout the day. In the meantime, please review the project materials in the shared drive and come to our first stand-up tomorrow with initial thoughts on your specific area of focus. As the team dispersed, Harper lingered behind. That went well, she observed, helping me gather the meeting notes. You didn't try to impress them with authority. Smart move. I'm not sure it was strategy so much as necessity, I admitted. I don't have all the answers, and pretending otherwise would only undermine trust. That self-awareness is exactly why you'll be a good manager, Harper replied. Nathan always acted like he was the smartest person in every room. And how did that make you feel? Like I should keep my best ideas to myself, she said simply. Why contribute just to have someone else take the credit? Her words crystallized something I'd been feeling but hadn't fully articulated. Nathan's leadership style hadn't just been unfair, it had been ineffective, actively discouraging the kind of innovation and collaboration that drove true progress. That stops now, I said firmly. On this team, your ideas are your ideas, and they'll be recognized as such. Harper smiled. I believe you, and more importantly, after that meeting, I think the others do too. The rest of the day unfolded in a blur of activity. My one-on-one meetings with each team member revealed valuable insights about their working styles, concerns, and aspirations. Aiden, despite his senior status, worried about the integration timelines being unrealistic. Layla was passionate about ensuring accessibility features were built in from the beginning, not added as an afterthought. Raj had concerns about data privacy regulations that would need to be addressed early in the development process. Tyler, now officially reporting to me despite our friendship, maintained a professional demeanor in our meeting that both amused and reassured me. I want you to know that I can separate our friendship from our working relationship, he explained earnestly. In this room, you're my manager first. I appreciate that, I replied, equally serious. But I also value our friendship and the candor that comes with it. If you think I'm making a mistake, I need you to tell me, especially now. Between meetings, I fielded calls from stakeholders across the company, each eager to understand how the platform would impact their department. The marketing team wanted to know about launch messaging. Customer support needed training timelines. Finance requested detailed budget projections. By mid-afternoon, my calendar was booked solid for the next 2 weeks. At 4:30, I received a calendar invitation that made my stomach lurch. Platform update, executive review, scheduled for Friday at 2 p.m. 3 days to prepare a comprehensive status report for the leadership team. The pressure was mounting faster than I had anticipated. Just as I was contemplating canceling my dinner plans to start working on the executive presentation, my office phone rang. It was Eleanor. How's the first day going, Manager Chen? She asked, her voice warm with pride. Overwhelming, I admitted, leaning back in my chair. I haven't had time to think, let alone doubt myself, which is probably a blessing. That's by design, Eleanor chuckled. Sophia is smart. She knows that keeping you focused on immediate challenges prevents the imposter syndrome from taking hold. I hadn't considered that perspective. You think she's deliberately keeping me off balance? Not off balance, Eleanor clarified. Fully engaged. There's a difference. New leaders often falter when given too much time to second-guess themselves. Sophia is making sure you're running so fast you can't look down. As if to prove Eleanor's point, my email pinged with yet another meeting request. This one from Marcus, the CTO, wanting to discuss technical architecture considerations for the platform. It's working, I sighed. I haven't had a moment to worry about whether I deserve this role. Good, Eleanor said firmly, because that question has already been answered. You're there because you created something valuable and had the courage to defend it. Now, focus on building it. After thanking Eleanor for her insight and promising to update her later in the week, I turned my attention to the immediate priorities facing me. The executive presentation would need substantial preparation, but first, I needed to establish a clear roadmap for the team's first sprint. I was deep in project planning when a knock on my office doorframe pulled me back to reality. It was Jenna from HR, holding a small stack of forms. Sorry to interrupt, she said, but we need your signature on these manager authorization forms. Budget approvals, security clearances, performance evaluation protocols. The stack landed on my desk with a weighty thud. All of these need to be completed by tomorrow? I asked, eyeing the paperwork dubiously. Welcome to management, Jenna replied with a sympathetic smile. The glamour never ends. As I began working through the forms, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Team dinner still on for tonight? Everyone's confirmed. I glanced at the clock, 6:15 already, and then at the mountain of paperwork and preparation still facing me. The responsible thing would be to cancel, to stay late and get ahead of tomorrow's challenges. But as I considered the importance of building team cohesion in these early days, I realized that the dinner might be as crucial as any planning document. Leadership wasn't just about tasks and timelines. It was about building the human connections that would sustain us through the inevitable challenges ahead. Absolutely, I texted back. Where and when? Aspen Grill, 7:30. We have the private dining room in the back. The private dining room? That seemed excessive for an impromptu team dinner. But before I could question it, another email demanded my attention. This one from Janelle in business development, attaching a list of potential enterprise clients who had expressed interest in early access to the platform. By the time I left the office at 7:15, my head was swimming with information, requests, and responsibilities. The short walk to Aspen Grill, one of Denver's trendy farm-to-table restaurants, gave me a few precious minutes to decompress and shift my focus from tasks to people. When I arrived, I was surprised to find not just my immediate team waiting, but nearly 20 colleagues from across different departments. Tyler stood at the entrance to the private dining room, looking pleased with himself. What is this? I asked, taken aback by the turnout. Your proper welcome to leadership, he explained. A few of us thought you deserved more than just HR paperwork and meeting requests on your first day. The gathering included not only my new team, but also colleagues I'd collaborated with over the past year, the UX design group that would be crucial to the platform's success, and even Marcus, who rarely attended social functions. As I entered the room, someone started applause that quickly spread through the assembled group. The unexpected show of support brought a lump to my throat. We wanted to celebrate not just your promotion, Harper explained as she handed me a glass of champagne, but the way you earned it. Standing up for yourself and your work inspired a lot of people around here. Marcus approached, offering a surprisingly warm handshake. The technical team is particularly excited about the platform. They've been pushing for something like this for years, but could never get traction at the leadership level. As dinner progressed, I found myself in conversations not just about the platform, but about the broader culture at Meridian. Nathan's management style, it became clear, had suppressed ideas and innovations beyond just my project. Several people shared stories of proposals that had been dismissed or appropriated, of contributions that had gone unrecognized. "Things feel different already," commented Layla as we shared dessert. "There's an energy in the office that wasn't there before. People are talking about ideas again, not just tasks." "One personnel change can't transform an entire company culture," I cautioned, uncomfortable with the weight of such expectations. "It's not just the change in management," Raj interjected. "It's seeing that good work and integrity actually matter. That standing up for yourself can lead to positive outcomes, not just retaliation." As the evening wound down, Tyler clinked his glass to gather everyone's attention. "A toast," he announced, "to Emma Chen, who showed us all that at Meridian Technologies. The best ideas win, even when the path to recognition isn't straightforward." The glasses raised around the table represented more than just congratulations, I realized. They symbolized hope that the company could become a place where innovation was truly valued and properly attributed. The implications extended far beyond my individual promotion or project. Later, as we walked to the light rail station, together, Tyler confessed that the dinner had been Sophia's idea. "She reached out to me yesterday afternoon," he explained. "Said it was important to mark this transition publicly, to make it clear to everyone that your advancement represented a significant shift in how Meridian approaches innovation and leadership." "She's thinking several moves ahead," I mused, remembering Eleanor's observation about keeping me too engaged to doubt myself. "That's why she's the CEO," Tyler agreed. "She saw an opportunity in this situation to address deeper issues in the company culture." The realization that my personal vindication had become part of a larger organizational strategy was both flattering and slightly unnerving. The stakes were even higher than I'd thought. If the platform succeeded under my leadership, it would validate Sophia's approach to recognizing and promoting talent. If it failed, I pushed the thought aside as we reached the station. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and I needed to focus on the immediate path forward, not hypothetical failures. "Thanks for organizing tonight," I told Tyler as we prepared to board different trains. "It meant more than you know." "Just doing my job," he replied with a grin. "Supporting the boss is part of my new role description, right?" I laughed, the tension of the day finally breaking. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we start building this thing for real." As my train pulled away, carrying me toward home and a few hours of much-needed sleep, I reflected on the whirlwind my life had become. In just 3 days, I had gone from frustrated mid-level strategist to team leader with company-wide visibility. The transformation was still settling into my bones, still reshaping my understanding of myself and my capabilities. But something had shifted during the team dinner. Surrounded by colleagues who believed in me, not just in my ideas, but in my ability to lead, I had felt the first genuine stirrings of confidence in my new role. Not the performed confidence Sophia had advised, but something authentic taking root. My phone buzzed with an email from Sophia. "Heard the team dinner went well. Remember, you're not just building a platform, you're demonstrating a new model of leadership at Meridian. Both matter equally. See you at Friday's executive review." The dual challenge was clear: deliver a revolutionary product while simultaneously embodying a different approach to management. The platform would test my technical vision, the leadership would test my character. As the train continued toward my stop, I opened my notebook and began drafting plans for tomorrow's team stand-up. The customer engagement platform had consumed my thoughts for months as a concept, a proposal, a rejected idea, and finally, a validated vision. Now it was becoming something concrete, a project with resources, timeline, and a dedicated team looking to me for direction. My stop arrived and I gathered my things, stepping onto the platform with a strange new feeling taking shape. Beneath my exhaustion and anxiety, it felt remarkably like purpose. Not just the satisfaction of creative work, but the deeper fulfillment of leading others toward a shared goal. Walking the final blocks to my apartment, I realized that this was the real test ahead. Not just proving Nathan wrong or justifying Sophia's faith in me, but discovering what kind of leader I could become when given the chance to build something that mattered. Tomorrow would bring its challenges, technical obstacles, resource constraints, competing priorities, and the 1,000 small frictions that accompany any significant project. But tonight, at least, I allowed myself to feel ready for them. The key turned in my apartment door, and as I stepped inside, I made a silent promise to myself and to the team that had gathered to support me. I would lead with the same integrity and courage that had brought me to this unexpected threshold. Not perfect, perhaps, but authentic. Not infallible, but accountable. That, I suspected, was what leadership actually meant. Not having all the answers, but being willing to find them together. Not avoiding mistakes, but owning them when they occurred. Not commanding from a distance, but standing alongside your team through challenges and victories alike. As I prepared for bed, the tasks of tomorrow already lining up in my mind, I felt a surprising sense of calm settle over me. The mountain ahead was steep, but I wasn't climbing alone. That made all the difference. Friday morning arrived with a weight of anticipation that seemed to permeate the entire 14th floor. The executive review meeting, scheduled for 2 p.m., had taken on an almost mythical significance among my team, who had worked feverishly all week to prepare the initial prototypes and technical specifications. Even the usually unflappable Raj had triple-checked his security architecture diagrams before submitting them for my review. "It's just a status update," I reminded the team during our morning stand-up. "We're not expected to have solved every challenge already." Aiden crossed his arms, unconvinced. "This isn't a normal status update. The entire C-suite will be there, including board members. That doesn't happen for regular project reviews." He was right, of course. Sophia had elevated the customer engagement platform to a company-wide priority, which meant unprecedented visibility and scrutiny. As I glanced around at my team's anxious faces, I realized they weren't just worried about the project. They were worried about me. In less than a week, we had formed a cohesive unit with surprising speed, bound together by the unusual circumstances of our formation and a shared commitment to proving the platform's worth. "We've made remarkable progress this week," I assured them, gesturing to the Kanban board, where completed tasks significantly outnumbered those still in progress. "The foundation is solid. Today is about communicating that foundation clearly, not presenting a finished product." The team nodded, somewhat reassured, and dispersed to their workstations. As I returned to my office to finalize my presentation, I found Tyler waiting, his expression unusually serious. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door behind him. "I just heard from Jenna in HR that Nathan is attending the executive review." The news hit me like a physical blow. "That's not possible. He was reassigned to the satellite office pending review. Apparently, he requested to be present as the former strategy team lead for continuity purposes," Tyler explained, making air quotes. "And Janelle from business development supported his request." My mind raced. Janelle had been notably cool toward me all week, canceling our scheduled meeting and sending terse emails about customer requirements. I had attributed it to typical corporate politics, but now a more troubling picture emerged. She and Nathan are allies, I realized aloud. They've worked together on several major accounts. Tyler nodded grimly. "And she's close with 2 board members. Word is she's positioning herself for a senior VP role when Mendoza retires next quarter." The implications were clear. If Janelle was aligning herself with Nathan, it wasn't just about personal loyalty. She saw a strategic advantage in undermining the new management approach Sophia was promoting through me. My success threatened her narrative about how advancement should work at Meridian. "Have you told the rest of the team?" I asked, already calculating how this development would affect our presentation strategy. "Not yet. I thought you should know first." I considered my options carefully. Warning the team might increase their anxiety, but blindsiding them with Nathan's presence would be worse. Tell them, I decided, but emphasize that this doesn't change our approach. We present the work confidently, regardless of who's in the room. As Tyler left to inform the others, I sank into my chair, fighting a wave of doubt. I had prepared meticulously for the executive review, anticipating difficult questions about timelines, resource allocation, and technical feasibility. But I hadn't prepared for a direct confrontation with Nathan, who knew the platform's vulnerabilities and would be motivated to expose them. My phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. It was Sophia. "Emma, do you have a minute?" Her voice was crisper than usual, suggesting she was between meetings. "Of course," I replied, trying to sound calmer than I felt. "I wanted to give you a heads up. Nathan Parker has been approved to attend today's review as an observer. I opposed it but was overruled by the governance committee. So it was official. I just heard. May I ask why the committee would approve this?" Sophia's sigh was barely audible. Politics. Janelle argued that excluding him would appear punitive and potentially expose the company to legal action. Given that the formal HR review of his conduct isn't complete, the committee felt it was safer to include him than risk escalation. "I understand," I said, though my stomach knotted at the thought of presenting with Nathan watching, looking for any mistake or weakness. "Emma, listen carefully," Sophia continued, her voice lowering. "This is a test, but not the one you think. The executive team has already approved the platform. Today isn't about whether the project continues. It's about how you handle adversity in a leadership role." Her candor was both reassuring and intimidating. "What exactly are they looking for?" "Composure, confidence without arrogance, and most importantly, a demonstrated commitment to the work rather than personal vindication." She paused. "Nathan will try to make this about personalities. Don't let him." After thanking Sophia for the warning, I immediately called Eleanor, needing the steadying influence of my mentor before diving back into preparation. "He'll try to rattle you," Eleanor said when I explained the situation. "That's his only play at this point. If he can make you appear emotional or unprofessional, he creates doubt about Sophia's judgment in promoting you." "How do I counter that?" I asked, pacing my office. "By being meticulously prepared, ruthlessly focused on the work, and gracious even when provoked," she advised. "Remember, you're not there as Emma Chen, who was wronged by Nathan Parker. You're there as the senior product manager presenting a groundbreaking initiative. That's a completely different posture." Eleanor's perspective helped me recalibrate my thinking. This wasn't about defending my creation anymore. That battle had been won. Now it was about leading its implementation with the professionalism expected of someone at my level. The remainder of the morning passed in focused preparation. I reviewed every slide, anticipated potential questions, and practiced my delivery until the narrative flowed naturally. The team gathered for a final run-through at noon, their initial anxiety now transformed into steely determination. "Nathan will be looking for technical weak points," Aiden noted as we reviewed the architecture diagrams. "I've added appendix slides addressing the legacy system integration challenges he might raise." Layla had enhanced the user journey maps with additional validation data. I pulled the latest satisfaction scores from our top enterprise clients. If anyone questions our user experience assumptions, these numbers make a compelling case. Their proactive preparation touched me deeply. This wasn't just my presentation anymore. It was our collective work, with each team member invested in its success. "Thank you all," I said as we concluded the run-through. "Whatever happens in that room today, I'm proud of what we've accomplished this week. Remember, we're not just defending an idea anymore. We're implementing an approved initiative with full executive support." As the team dispersed to grab lunch before the review, Harper lingered behind. "You know Nathan will try to provoke you," she said quietly. He's been telling people that your recording was a calculated ploy to advance your career at his expense. The accusation stung but wasn't entirely surprising. Let him say what he wants. The work speaks for itself. Just be prepared, Harper advised. Word is he's been meeting with Janelle and 2 board members all week. They're coordinated. This added context explained Janelle's sudden support for Nathan's attendance. They weren't just allies. They were actively strategizing against me. The realization should have been intimidating, but instead, I felt an unexpected calm settle over me. If they were this concerned about my success, perhaps I was more of a threat than I'd realized. Thanks for the warning, I told Harper. Now, go get some lunch. We'll need all our energy this afternoon. After she left, I closed my office door and took a moment to center myself. The stakes had been raised, but the fundamental truth remained unchanged. I had created something valuable, something that had been recognized and approved at the highest levels. No amount of political maneuvering could erase that fact. At 1:45, my team gathered outside Conference Room A, the largest and most formal meeting space at Meridian. Through the glass walls, we could see the executive team and board members already assembling. Sophia was engaged in conversation with Marcus near the head of the table. Janelle sat midway down, reviewing documents with 2 older men I recognized as board members. And there, at the far end of the table, was Nathan. His expression neutral, but his posture tense. Remember, I said quietly to my team, we focus on the work, not the personalities. If questions get challenging, we address them directly and without defensiveness. We're the experts on this platform now. At precisely 2 p.m., Sophia's executive assistant ushered us into the room. The conversation hushed as we entered, all eyes turning to assess the team that had become the center of so much attention over the past week. Welcome, everyone, Sophia began once we were seated. Today, we'll receive our first formal update on the Customer Engagement Platform Initiative. As you know, this project represents a significant investment in our customer relationship strategy and has implications for every department. Emma Chen, our newly appointed Senior Product Manager, will lead the presentation. As I moved to the front of the room and connected my laptop to the display system, I felt rather than saw Nathan's scrutiny. Deliberately, I kept my focus on the executives who would actually determine the project's future, not on the man who had tried to claim it as his own. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you all for your time today, I began, my voice steady. It's been exactly 1 week since the customer engagement platform received executive approval, and I'm pleased to report that we've made substantial progress in translating the concept into an actionable implementation plan. For the next 20 minutes, I presented our work with confident precision, highlighting the foundation we'd established and the challenges we'd identified. Each team member contributed segments related to their expertise, demonstrating both individual competence and collective alignment. As we concluded the prepared presentation, I opened the floor for questions, bracing myself for what might come. Marcus spoke first, his technical questions focused and constructive. The CFO followed with inquiries about phased investment and expected returns. The marketing director wanted clarification on customer messaging strategy. Each question was answered clearly by the appropriate team member, the exchanges reinforcing our preparation and command of the material. Then Janelle raised her hand, her expression suggesting the cordial questioning phase was about to end. I'm concerned about the integration timeline, she began, glancing briefly at Nathan. Previous platform initiatives have consistently run over schedule by 40-60%. What makes you confident this one will be different, especially given the leadership team's limited experience? The emphasis on limited experience was deliberate, a not-so-subtle reminder of my recent promotion. That's an excellent question, I replied, refusing to be baited into defensiveness. We've built our timeline based on 3 specific factors that differentiate this initiative from previous efforts. I outlined our approach to phased deployment, the pre-validation work with key customers, and the technical architecture that leveraged existing systems rather than replacing them. Additionally, I concluded, we've incorporated lessons learned from those previous platform initiatives, including the Sanders project from 2022, which I believe you were involved with, Janelle. The reference to the Sanders project, which had famously missed its deadline by nearly 8 months under Janelle's oversight, was subtle but effective. Her expression tightened almost imperceptibly. Those are compelling distinctions, she acknowledged stiffly. However, I remain concerned about the technical debt this approach might create. Nathan, you had expressed similar concerns in earlier discussions. Would you care to elaborate? And there it was, the carefully orchestrated handoff designed to give Nathan an opening. Every head turned toward him, curious how he would navigate this delicate moment. Nathan straightened in his chair, clearly prepared for this cue. Yes, thank you, Janelle. My primary concern involves the integration with our legacy authentication systems. The approach outlined today appears to prioritize speed over security, which could create vulnerabilities in our customer data protection. It was a calculated critique, technical enough to sound authoritative, alarming enough to raise doubts, and vague enough to be difficult to refute directly. I felt Raj tense beside me, ready to launch into a defensive technical explanation. Before he could speak, I placed a hand lightly on his arm and addressed the room with measured confidence. That's precisely why Raj Mehta, our security architecture expert, has developed a comprehensive authentication framework specifically designed to address the legacy system challenges, I replied, my tone collaborative rather than confrontational. Raj, would you mind sharing the 3-layer approach we've developed? Raj explained our security architecture clearly, directly addressing the concerns without ever suggesting they were invalid. These protocols actually exceed our current standards, he concluded. We've prioritized both speed and security, recognizing that neither can be compromised. Nathan frowned slightly, his carefully constructed criticism diffused by our prepared response. But he wasn't finished. The approach sounds promising in theory, he conceded. But I'm skeptical about the resource allocation. Based on my experience, leading the strategy team, the staffing levels indicated here seem insufficient for the ambitious timeline. I had anticipated this line of attack and was ready with a response that would redirect the conversation back to data rather than opinions. You raise an important point about resource allocation, I acknowledged. We've actually conducted a detailed capacity analysis based on similar projects completed over the past 2 years. I displayed a slide showing the comparative analysis, highlighting how our resource model aligned with successful initiatives while avoiding the pitfalls of less successful ones. As you can see, we've benchmarked against actual Meridian projects, not theoretical estimates. The data supports our staffing approach. One of the board members leaned forward, intrigued by the analysis. This is excellent work. Have we done this kind of comparative resourcing study for other initiatives? Not systematically, I admitted. But we believed it was essential for a project of this significance. I'd be happy to share our methodology with other teams if that would be valuable. The board member nodded approvingly, and I noticed Sophia hiding a small smile. The conversation was shifting away from scrutiny of our plan toward potential improvements to the company's overall project management approach. Exactly the kind of constructive outcome I had hoped for. Nathan made one final attempt to regain control of the narrative. My concern is less about methodology and more about experience, he stated, his tone now openly skeptical. This platform will touch every aspect of our customer relationships. The risk of entrusting it to a team led by someone who was in a mid-level role just days ago seems considerable. The room stilled at this direct challenge to my qualifications. Even Janelle looked slightly uncomfortable with the personal nature of the attack. The moment had arrived that Sophia had warned me about, the attempt to make this about personalities rather than the work. I took a deliberate breath, meeting Nathan's gaze directly for the first time. Then I turned to address the entire room, my voice calm and measured. Leadership experience is indeed valuable, I began. And while it's true that I'm new to this level of responsibility, I'd like to share what this team has accomplished in just 5 days. Rather than defending my qualifications, I highlighted the team's achievements. The customer interviews they'd conducted, the technical challenges they'd solved, the cross-departmental relationships they'd established. I spoke about their expertise and commitment, positioning myself not as the indispensable creator but as the coordinator of exceptional talent. Great leadership isn't about having all the answers, I concluded. It's about bringing together the right people who do. I'm fortunate to be working with a team whose combined experience and expertise are perfectly aligned with this project's needs. My job is to remove obstacles from their path and ensure their contributions are recognized and integrated effectively. The subtle reference to proper attribution wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Several executives nodded in agreement, and I noticed that even one of the board members Janelle had been courting was looking at me with what appeared to be newfound respect. Sophia used the moment to redirect the conversation. I think we've covered the major concerns about implementation approach and team readiness. Let's move on to customer impact metrics. Emma, could you walk us through how you'll measure success in the initial deployment phase? For the remainder of the meeting, the questioning returned to substantive project details rather than leadership questions. Nathan remained silent, his planned line of attack effectively neutralized. As we concluded the presentation, Sophia addressed the room. I want to thank Emma and her team for this comprehensive update. Based on what we've seen today, the customer engagement platform is on track for initial deployment next quarter. Unless there are objections, I recommend we continue with the approved investment and scheduled monthly reviews. She paused, allowing space for dissent. But even Janelle remained quiet, apparently recognizing that further opposition would be counterproductive. Excellent, Sophia continued. Emma, please distribute the detailed implementation plan to all department heads by Monday. Everyone else, please ensure your teams provide any necessary support this initiative requires. This platform is a company priority. As the meeting dispersed, several executives approached to offer specific feedback and express interest in closer collaboration. Marcus scheduled a technical architecture review. The marketing director wanted to discuss early customer communication strategy. Even one of the board members lingered to ask more about our resource allocation methodology. Nathan left quickly, murmuring something to Janelle before exiting. She remained behind, watching the positive interactions around me with barely concealed frustration. Eventually, she approached as the room emptied. Impressive recovery, she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. You handled that well. Thank you, I replied simply, refusing to acknowledge the implied criticism or engage in office politics. I look forward to working with business development on the customer selection strategy for the pilot phase. Of course, she responded, clearly thrown by my professional demeanor. I'll have my team reach out to schedule that discussion. After she left, only Sophia remained, reviewing notes at the head of the table. She gestured for me to join her. That, she said quietly, was exactly what I was hoping to see today. Thank you, I replied, relief finally seeping into my voice. It got tense for a moment. Leadership always does, Sophia observed. What matters is how you navigate the tension. You kept the focus on the work and the team, not on defending yourself or attacking Nathan. That's the mark of a mature leader. Her approval meant more than I wanted to admit, even to myself. I had good coaching, I acknowledged. Speaking of Nathan, Sophia continued, her tone shifting slightly, HR has completed their preliminary review. This isn't public information yet, but he's being offered a lateral move to the Chicago office. If he declines, his options become more limited. I absorbed this news with mixed emotions. While vindicated by the outcome, I took no joy in someone else's career setback, even Nathan's. I see. Your handling of today's meeting actually made that decision easier, Sophia explained. If you had engaged in the personal conflict he was trying to provoke, it would have complicated the disciplinary approach. By maintaining professionalism, you made it clear that the issue was his conduct, not a personality clash. As we gathered our materials to leave, Sophia added one final observation. The board members were impressed, by the way, particularly with how you redirected Nathan's experience question toward team capabilities. That demonstrated real leadership instinct. My team was waiting in the hallway, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. Tyler gave me a subtle thumbs up as I emerged from the conference room. "Well?" Aiden asked. "What's the verdict?" "We're officially on track," I confirmed. "The platform moves forward as planned with full executive support." The collective relief was palpable. Layla actually pumped her fist, while Raj allowed himself a rare smile. Harper and Tyler exchanged knowing looks, clearly pleased with how we had navigated the political minefield. "Drinks are on me tonight," I announced. "You all performed brilliantly in there." As we walked back toward our work area, Tyler fell into step beside me. "Nathan looked ready to spontaneously combust when the board member praised your resource analysis. That was beautiful to watch." "The goal wasn't to embarrass Nathan," I reminded him, though I couldn't entirely suppress a smile. "It was to demonstrate that we're approaching this project with appropriate rigor." "Well, you managed both," Tyler observed. Janelle didn't look too happy either. I think they expected the technical novice to fall apart under pressure. That had clearly been their strategy, to expose gaps in my technical knowledge and suggest I wasn't qualified to lead the initiative. Instead, I had demonstrated that effective leadership didn't require being the technical expert. It required knowing how to leverage the experts on your team. Back in my office, I found a message from Eleanor. "How did it go? Call me when you can." I closed the door and dialed her number, suddenly eager to share the experience with someone who would understand its significance beyond the project details. "We nailed it," I reported when she answered. "The platform is officially proceeding, with full executive support." "Tell me everything," Eleanor insisted. "Especially how Nathan tried to undermine you. I know he must have tried." As I recounted the meeting, focusing particularly on the moment when Nathan had directly questioned my experience, Eleanor's satisfaction was audible. "That was the perfect response," she affirmed. "Redirecting to team capabilities rather than defending your own record. That's mature leadership, Emma." That's what Sophia said too. Because it's true. New leaders often fall into the trap of thinking they need to prove they have all the answers. Experienced leaders know their job is to bring together the right people who collectively have the answers. After we hung up, I took a moment to absorb what had happened. 1 week ago, I had been watching Nathan present my work as his own, feeling powerless and betrayed. Today, I had successfully defended that work and my leadership of it in front of the entire executive team and board, while Nathan sat silently by, his attempt to regain control thoroughly defeated. The transformation was still difficult to fully comprehend. But as I reviewed the notes from the meeting and began planning next steps, I realized that I was no longer thinking about Nathan or the theft that had precipitated this entire situation. My focus had shifted entirely to the work ahead: the platform implementation, the team development, the customer impact we would create. That evolution, I suspected, was the final step in truly growing into this leadership role, moving beyond the incident that had created the opportunity and embracing the responsibility that came with it. My reflection was interrupted by a knock at the door. It was Harper, tablet in hand, and expression unusually tentative. "Do you have a minute?" she asked. "There's something I think you should see." "Of course," I replied, gesturing for her to enter. "What is it?" Harper placed her tablet on my desk, displaying an internal company forum that I rarely visited. After the meeting, someone posted about how it went. Well, You should just read it. The post was from a developer I knew only in passing, describing what he had heard about the executive review. Apparently, Emma Chen absolutely crushed it, he had written. Sources say she handled Nathan's attempts to undermine her with complete professionalism while demonstrating total command of the platform details. This is the kind of leadership Meridian has been missing. The comments that followed were equally supportive, with employees from various departments expressing enthusiasm about the platform and the new management approach it represented. Several specifically mentioned how refreshing it was to see technical contributions properly attributed and recognized. It's all over the company, Harper explained. You've become a symbol of something bigger than just this project. The realization was both flattering and slightly terrifying. I had been focused on proving myself capable of leading the platform initiative. I hadn't considered that in doing so, I might become a visible example of leadership change within Meridian as a whole. Thank you for showing me this, I told Harper, returning her tablet. But let's keep our focus on delivering results, not on the narrative around my promotion. The best way to validate Sophia's decision is to make this platform successful. Harper nodded, but her expression suggested she understood something I was still coming to terms with, that the personal and the professional had become inextricably linked in this situation. My success or failure would be seen not just as a reflection on me, but as a statement about meritocracy and recognition within the company culture. As Friday afternoon wound down, my team gradually dispersed for the weekend, each stopping by to confirm Monday's priorities before leaving. Tyler was the last to depart, pausing in my doorway with an expression of genuine pride. You know, he said thoughtfully, when I first suggested recording that meeting with Nathan, I was just thinking it might help you remember his feedback. I never imagined it would lead to all this. Neither did I admitted, but I'm grateful. It did, not just for the promotion, but for the chance to actually build this platform the right way. Tyler nodded. See you Monday, boss. Try to get some actual rest this weekend. As I gathered my things to leave, I noticed a small package on my desk that hadn't been there earlier. Inside was a simple journal with a note from Sophia. For recording, things worth remembering. Leadership is a journey best documented. S. The gesture touched me deeply. Not just the gift itself, but the acknowledgement that I was at the beginning of something significant. Something worth preserving in memory. Today's executive review wasn't the end of a dramatic week. It was the start of a new professional chapter. Leaving the office, I felt lighter than I had all week. The platform had been successfully defended. The team had performed brilliantly. Nathan's attempt to undermine me had backfired completely. And most importantly, I had begun to internalize a new identity. Not just as the creator of a valuable idea, but as a leader capable of bringing that idea to life through the collective efforts of talented people. As I walked toward the light, rail station, the Denver skyline glowing in the late afternoon sun, I realized that for the first time since this whirlwind began, I wasn't anxious about what Monday would bring. Instead, I was looking forward to it, to the challenges and opportunities that awaited, to the platform taking shape under our collective guidance, to discovering what kind of leader I might become in the process. My phone buzzed with a text. From Tyler. The team is gathering at Aspen Grill to celebrate. Join us? I smiled, typing back, on my way, first round's on me. Some victories were worth celebrating after all. Not just personal vindication, but the triumph of merit over manipulation, of collaboration over credit stealing, of a better way of working together. That was something worth raising a glass to, and then getting back to work, building something, valuable enough to justify the unusual path that had led us here. 3 months after that pivotal executive review, I stood in the gleaming lobby of Meridian Technologies, watching as the enormous digital display cycled through company announcements. My breath caught slightly as the customer engagement platform launch date appeared on screen. 2 weeks away, and highlighted as the company's most significant product release of the year. Beside me, Eleanor squeezed my arm gently, sensing my emotion. "How does it feel?" she asked quietly. "Seeing it there? About to become real?" "Surreal," I admitted. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up at my old desk, with all of this just an elaborate daydream." Eleanor had flown in from Chicago specifically for today's company-wide demonstration of the platform, the final presentation before the official launch. As my mentor, she had witnessed this journey from the beginning, from frustrated phone calls about Nathan dismissing my ideas to late-night strategy sessions as I navigated my new leadership role. Having her here for this culminating moment felt right. "Emma Chen?" A young woman approached, tablet in hand. "The auditorium is ready whenever you are. The executive team has already been seated." I nodded my thanks. "We'll head up in 5 minutes." As the assistant departed, Eleanor straightened my blazer collar with maternal precision. "Nervous?" "Not about the presentation," I replied truthfully. "The platform works exactly as we envisioned, and the pilot customers are reporting satisfaction scores 40% above our baseline. What makes me nervous is what comes after." Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "The promotion?" News of my impending advancement to Director of Product Innovation had spread through the company, despite HR's attempts to keep it confidential until after the platform launch. Someone had leaked the executive committee minutes, and by the next morning, my inbox had been flooded with congratulatory messages from colleagues across departments. "It's not just the title," I explained as we walked toward the elevators. "It's the mandate that comes with it. Sophia wants me to establish an entirely new division focused on customer-centered innovation. I'll be hiring a team of 20 with significant budget authority." "That's not nerves," Eleanor observed as we stepped into the elevator. "That's healthy respect for responsibility. There's a difference." The transformation in my professional life over the past 3 months had been nothing short of extraordinary. After successfully navigating the executive review, my team and I had thrown ourselves into platform development with renewed confidence. Weekly progress reviews had gradually attracted more attendees from across the company, as word spread about both the platform's potential and the collaborative management approach I was modeling. Even more surprising had been the subtle shift in company culture that radiated outward from our team. Other project leaders had begun adopting our transparent attribution practices, ensuring that contributions were properly recognized regardless of seniority. The weekly innovation forums I'd instituted had become standing room-only events, with employees from every department bringing ideas that had previously gone unvoiced. Most tellingly, Sophia had begun referring to the customer engagement platform as the pilot project for Meridian's cultural evolution, language that elevated its significance beyond mere technical innovation. As the elevator ascended to the 20th floor, I reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. Nathan had indeed accepted the transfer to Chicago, where he had reportedly struggled to replicate his former influence. Janelle had pivoted dramatically once the platform's success became apparent, repositioning herself as an early champion of customer-centric innovation. And my team had become something of a legend within Meridian, the group that had turned a stolen idea into a company-transforming initiative. The elevator doors opened to reveal the executive floor, where Meridian's largest presentation space occupied the entire north side of the building. Through the glass walls, I could see the auditorium already filled with employees and executives, the massive screen currently displaying the platform logo my team had designed. Tyler was waiting. In the hallway, tablet in hand and expression carefully professional despite the excitement I could see in his eyes. As my newly promoted technical product manager, he had become my right hand in bringing the platform to life. Final attendance count is 276 in-person and 118 remote, he reported, including representatives from our top 5 enterprise clients and 2 industry analysts. "Any technical issues with the demo environment?" I asked, focused on the task at hand rather than the butterflies in my stomach. All systems nominal, Tyler confirmed. Raj did a final security sweep this morning, and Layla just completed a walkthrough of the user journey demonstration. We're good to go. Eleanor looked between us with approval. I'll find my seat. Break a leg, both of you. As she headed into the auditorium, Tyler handed me a small box. From the team, he explained. A little pre-launch tradition we decided to start. Inside was a sleek metal fountain pen engraved with the platform launch date and a simple message. Ideas matter. Leadership matters. Thank you for both. The gesture threatened to crack my professional composure. Tell everyone thank you. This means a lot. They know, Tyler assured me. Now let's go show the company what we've built. We entered the auditorium, to applause that caught me by surprise. Sophia stood at the center of the stage, microphone in hand, clearly waiting for us to join her. Ladies and gentlemen, she began as we took our places, today marks the culmination of a journey that began 3 months ago with a simple but powerful idea. That truly understanding our customers, not just their usage patterns but their goals, challenges, and aspirations, could transform our relationship with them and revolutionize our product development approach. She turned toward me, her expression warm with approval. That idea came from Emma Chen, who not only conceptualized the customer engagement platform, but has led its development with extraordinary skill and vision. Today, Emma and her team will demonstrate how this platform will fundamentally change how Meridian Technologies connects with our customers, beginning 2 weeks from today when it goes live. More applause followed as Sophia handed me the microphone. Standing center stage, facing colleagues who had witnessed my unexpected rise from mid-level strategist to senior leadership, I felt a moment of perfect clarity. This wasn't just about vindicating my stolen idea anymore. It had evolved into something far more significant, a new approach to innovation at Meridian, one that valued ideas based on merit rather than seniority, that recognized contributions, transparently, that transformed good concepts into great products through collaboration rather than competition. Thank you, Sophia, I began, my voice steady with conviction rather than nervousness. The customer engagement platform began as a response to a specific business challenge, but it has become something much more powerful, a demonstration of what's possible when we align our technology perfectly with customer needs, when we bring together diverse expertise toward a common goal, and when we create space for innovation to flourish regardless of where in the organization it originates. For the next 45 minutes, my team and I presented the platform in all its glory. The intuitive interface, the predictive analytics engine, the seamless integration with existing systems, the enhanced security architecture, and most importantly, the transformed customer experience it enabled. We shared testimonials from pilot users who had already reported significant improvements in satisfaction and retention. We demonstrated how the platform had already identified patterns that had led to product enhancements across 3 separate product lines. Throughout the presentation, I made a point of highlighting specific contributions from team members, ensuring that everyone who had played a significant role received proper recognition. When questions arose about technical details, I deferred to the appropriate expert rather than attempting to claim comprehensive knowledge. As we concluded to enthusiastic applause, Sophia rejoined us on stage for the final remarks. What you've witnessed today isn't just a new platform, she emphasized. It's a new approach to creating value, one that Meridian will be expanding significantly in the coming months. She paused, glancing at me with a smile. Which brings me to an announcement I had planned to save until after the platform launch, but which seems appropriate to share today. My heart raced, realizing what was coming. Effective immediately following the platform launch, Emma Chen will be promoted to Director of Product Innovation, heading a new division focused on identifying and developing customer-centered solutions across all Meridian product lines. The applause that followed was punctuated by surprised murmurs as the significance of the announcement registered. This wasn't just a personal promotion. It was the creation of an entirely new organizational structure with me at its head. The success of the customer engagement platform has demonstrated that innovation thrives under the right leadership, Sophia continued. Emma's approach, emphasizing collaboration, proper attribution of ideas, and relentless customer focus, will now be scaled across Meridian through this new division. The official announcement with full details will be distributed next week. As the presentation concluded and attendees began networking in small groups, I found myself at the center of a steady stream of congratulations and questions. Colleagues, who had barely acknowledged me 4 months earlier, now sought my insights on their own projects. Department heads inquired about potential collaboration opportunities with the new innovation division. Even Janelle approached with surprising warmth, emphasizing how business development was eager to partner on future initiatives. Through it all, I maintained the balanced perspective that had guided me since that first confrontation with Nathan, acknowledging the contributions of my team, focusing on the work rather than personal advancement, and emphasizing that innovation could come from anywhere in the organization if properly nurtured. Eventually, the crowd thinned, leaving just my core team, Eleanor and Sophia, gathered near the stage. Tyler raised an imaginary glass. To the platform launch, and to our fearless leader's well-deserved promotion. And to all of you, I added, quickly. This was never a solo achievement. Sophia nodded approvingly at my response. That right there, she said to the group, is why the executive committee unanimously approved both the new division and Emma's leadership of it. Success without arrogance is rare in this industry. As the team dispersed to return to launch preparations, Sophia drew me aside. Walk with me a moment? We strolled toward the executive wing, the afternoon sun streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked downtown Denver. I have a confession to make, Sophia said once we were alone. When you played that recording in the meeting 3 months ago, I was already considering a reorganization to emphasize innovation. What I lacked was the right leader to spearhead it. You couldn't have known I would be that person, I pointed out. I was a mid-level strategist with no management experience. Sophia smiled. What I knew was that you had created something valuable and had the courage to defend it appropriately when it was threatened. Those are foundational leadership qualities that can't be taught. The rest, the management skills, the strategic thinking, the team development, those you've proven remarkably adept at acquiring. She paused by the window, gazing out at the city spread below us. Meridian has been too hierarchical for too long. Ideas have been evaluated based on who proposed them, rather than their inherent merit. Your situation with Nathan brought that dysfunction into sharp relief and created an opportunity for meaningful change. Is that why you supported me so publicly? I asked, finally voicing the question that had lingered in my mind for months. As a catalyst for cultural change? Partially, Sophia acknowledged. But I also recognized something in you that reminded me of myself at your age. The passion for creating something meaningful, coupled with the resilience to overcome obstacles. I simply accelerated an advancement that would have happened eventually. As we parted, Sophia with board meetings to attend and me with launch preparations to oversee, I felt a profound sense of closure regarding the tumultuous events that had precipitated my unexpected rise. What had begun as a personal injustice, Nathan stealing my work, had catalyzed a transformation that extended far beyond my individual career trajectory. Back in my office, I found Eleanor waiting, her expression thoughtful as she studied the project timeline displayed on my whiteboard. Quite a journey from that phone call 3 months ago, she observed, when you were debating whether to even confront Nathan about taking credit for your work. I smiled at the memory of that conversation, how uncertain I had been, how afraid of workplace repercussions. If you hadn't encouraged me to document everything, none of this would have happened. Don't sell yourself short, Eleanor countered. Documentation was just a tool. The courage to stand up in that meeting was all yours. She was right, in a way. The recording had provided evidence, but the willingness to use it, to risk confrontation, rather than accept the theft of my work, had been the true turning point. That single moment of standing up for myself had unleashed a cascade of changes that had transformed both my career and Meridian itself. As Eleanor prepared to leave for her flight, she embraced me warmly. I'm proud of you, Emma, not just for the promotion or the platform's success, but for how you've handled this journey. You've remained true to your values while growing into your potential. After she departed, I spent a quiet moment reflecting on the path that had led to this point. The stolen proposal that had initially seemed like a professional setback had instead opened a door to possibilities I hadn't even known to imagine. The very qualities that Nathan had attempted to exploit, my creativity, diligence, and attention to detail, had ultimately propelled me past him. My reflection was interrupted by a knock at the door, Aiden looking uncharacteristically hesitant. Got a minute? He asked. There's something the team wanted me to discuss with you before the announcement goes public. Of course, I replied, gesturing for him to enter. What's on your mind? Aiden took a seat, his expression serious. We heard about the new innovation division and that you'll be selecting team members from across the company. That's right, I confirmed. 20 positions initially, with potential expansion based on results. The thing is, he continued, all of us, the platform team I mean, we want to continue working with you. We've submitted formal transfer requests to HR, contingent on your approval, of course. The request touched me deeply. These talented individuals, who had initially been assigned to my team through organizational directive, were now choosing to follow my leadership into a new venture. I'm honored, I said simply. And yes, I'd be delighted to have all of you join the new division. But are you sure? This will be uncharted territory, more ambiguous, less structured than platform. Development. Aiden smiled. That's exactly why we want in. The way you've led this team, giving us ownership of our areas while maintaining a clear vision, it's the best working experience many of us have had at Meridian. We want to be part of what comes next. After he left, I turned to the window, watching the late afternoon light play across the Denver skyline. In 3 short months, I had progressed from fighting for recognition of a single idea to leading a team that trusted me enough to follow me into uncertainty. From recording a meeting as a desperate defensive measure to establishing a new organizational division that would shape Meridian's future approach to innovation. The journey hadn't been without challenges. There had been technical obstacles. With the platform integration, resistance from departments comfortable with the status quo, and the constant pressure of compressed timelines. Yet through it all, the team had coalesced around a shared commitment to creating something valuable. Not just a technological solution, but a new way of working together. As I gathered my things to head home, already mentally outlining the structure for the new innovation division, I reflected on the strange serendipity that had brought me to this point. If Nathan hadn't stolen my proposal, if I hadn't recorded that meeting, if Sophia hadn't recognized the opportunity for broader change, any deviation in that chain of events might have led to a completely different outcome. Yet here I was, preparing to launch a platform that would transform Meridian's customer relationships, while simultaneously stepping into a leadership role I couldn't have imagined 4 months earlier. The twist of fate that had begun with a betrayal had culminated in far more than personal vindication. It had created an opportunity to build something truly meaningful. My phone buzzed with a message from Tyler. Team gathering at Riverfront Bistro to celebrate the successful demonstration. Your attendance is mandatory, Director Chen. I smiled at the premature use of my new title, typing back. On my way. First rounds on the newly promoted boss. As I left the building and stepped into the crisp Denver evening, I felt a profound sense of alignment between my personal values and professional trajectory. The success of the platform and my upcoming promotion were gratifying, certainly. But the true achievement lay in how we had gotten here, through collaboration rather than competition, through recognition rather than theft, through leadership that elevated others rather than diminishing them. In the end, Nathan's attempt to claim my work as his own hadn't diminished me. It had revealed strengths I hadn't known I possessed. And in that revelation lay the most important lesson of this unexpected journey: that sometimes, the greatest, opportunities emerge from the very challenges that seem designed to defeat us. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.